Okay, on the next few slides, we're going to take a look at one reporting tool from SAP BW, which is the Business Explorer Suite. And this slide shows the position of this product in SAP BW. Okay, so basically it is the front-end tool that is used to consume data coming out of a data warehouse. This slide shows there are basically 5 different tools that are bundled together, known as SAP BEX BW reporting tools, including Analyzer, Query Designer, BEX Web, Web Application Designer, and Information Broadcasting. Okay, and the use of each tool is described briefly here, and we'll be concentrating on the 3 tools on the left-hand side. Okay, the BEX Analyzer, Query Designer, and BEX Web. And in this chapter, we're going to learn about 2 major tools. One is BEX Analyzer, which is Excel-based product. And the second is BEX Web Analyzer, which is browser-based. So you analyze data using a web browser. Now, how do you get started on BEX Analyzer? To start the program or to execute the program, you can go through the Start menu on the Microsoft Windows interface. As shown here, you can go through the Start button, and then All Programs, and then find the Analyzer from the Business Explorer suite. And that's one way. Okay. Now, in our environment, we are using the VDI desktop, and there is a BX folder located on the desktop. So if you just double-click and open the folder up, you will see BEX Analyzer, the shortcut there that you can just execute it very quickly. There's another way to run this program, though, which is inside a BW. So after we log into BW, for instance, if necessary, if we want to execute an analyzer, then we can use the transaction code RRMX. Okay, so for this particular tool in Business Explorer, there are actually 2 ways to run the program. For other tools, I mean, this is unique to BEX Analyzer. Okay. All right. To use BEX Analyzer, basically, as I mentioned before, it is an Excel-based product. So you will use it. You will access the program by an Excel add-in. So basically, you will click on the add-in button once Excel opens. And then to run a query, you will first open a query to run it. You just click on the Open Query button, and then you retrieve the query, and then you run it, and you will see the results in Excel. An example is figure 10.6 in the book that you can follow. Okay. Here I have some screenshots to show you the different components in BEX Analyzer. Here on this slide, it shows that when you click on add-ins, you can then see BEX Analyzer menu, and then also the items are on this menu. Okay, for instance, you can open query, you can open a workbook. You can use the tools menu and so on. Okay, and like I just mentioned that when you first started, you would probably need to open a query to get started. So that's how you can do that. And once you click on the Open Query item or icon, the next screen you see is the Open Query dialog, and through which you can select how do you want to access a particular query. There are basically 5 different ways we can find a query. We can locate a query through user roles, through info areas, through favorites, through history, or the find button. Okay. If you know the name of the query, then the easiest way is probably to use the find button to just enter the name. Okay. And you don't have to enter the full name. You can use a wildcard character, which is the asterisk symbol at the end to try and find, in this example, by company. You can just type in by company and then asterisk. Then you can find the query very easily. This slide shows examples of analyzer menus and toolbar items. We already seen analyzer menu, but here on the right hand side it also shows the toolbar functions that will become visible when you change to the design mode. Okay. Basically, the analyzer has 2 different modes. The first mode is analysis or analysis mode, in which you can open a query and run a query, and then you can do OLAP analysis and so on. Okay, so you can analyze a report in the analysis mode. The design mode is used when you are working as a designer. Okay, you can design a report. You can lay out different components of the report and so on, which we'll get into detail later on. But the design mode, you need to get into design mode by clicking on the design mode icon to switch between analysis mode and design mode. All right, on this slide it shows that after a query is executed, you see the results in the middle of your spreadsheet, and it also has several elements, and shown here at the upper left-hand corner. For instance, you can switch between the data in either charts or tables. Okay, right now you're looking at a table of informational data, and if we want, we can display the same data in graphics or charts. Okay, and then also information gives you some basic information about the query, and finally the filter button allows you to open the filters that have already been created for this particular query, and then you can use those filters to analyze the data in different ways. Okay, we'll talk more about filters and also other components associated with a query later on. Yeah, on this slide it shows, for instance, when we are doing analysis in the BEX analyzer, we can use several features, and one of them is filters that I just talked about. Okay, a filter is created to restrict query results to selected values of characteristics. Okay, characteristics. For instance, if we have a filter set up based on sales organization, then we can then use the filter to see results for sales organization 001 only, or sales organization 003, and so on. Okay, so we can see different results for different sales organizations, in other words. Another way to analyze is to navigate, and then basically whenever you right click, you will see the context menu, and there are several navigation steps, and one of them allows you to take one step back up, to go to the previous step, for instance. And then another option is to go back to the start, okay, to start from the beginning. If you have done several steps of analysis, you want to start over, you can always go back to the beginning by choosing back to start. Finally, we can also do OLAP analysis or multidimensional analysis, which is the most powerful feature of BEX Analyzer, which we will describe in more detail in the next few slides.